in the past, I've talked about the idea of $10 maybe when it comes to PYTH, but then sometimes people want me to talk about a different scenario. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about maybe the idea of $2. Now, people may be thinking, okay, $2, not that good and all this type of stuff. Well, here's the way to take a look at it. At the price of $2, it's around a 15.5x from here. And initially, some people may be thinking, okay, how is that even that good? Well, the way you take a look at it is that if we take a look at, for instance, something like Bitcoin, something like Ethereum, what could they do, let's say, in the next 6 or 10 months? Now, if let's say Ethereum went to 10 grand, that's less than a 3x from here. We take a look at something like Bitcoin going to 300 grand, that's also still less than a 3x from here. So in my opinion, sure, Bitcoin, Ethereum, they're really massive. They've done well historically speaking. But then at the same time, if I had a choice between PYTH, Bitcoin, and Ethereum, only those three options, because I do not only just hold PYTH, but I'm saying if those were the only three options I had, I'm going to have to say PYTH over those two, because the way I view it is that, around a 3x or less than that, I should say, that's just not what I want to look for. This is just my perspective, and that doesn't really excite me. But even besides that, let's say PYTH went to the price of $2, hypothetically speaking. Market cap at that point, considering current circulating supply, would be around $11.5 billion. Now, that market cap, I think in the grand scheme of things, doesn't seem too overly massive, because if we view something like Shiba Inu reaching around $40 billion in market cap back in 2021, something like Dogecoin reaching over 80 billion, even also Dogecoin right now, market cap is in the tens of billions, right? Not to mention, we take a look at something like, XRP, which market cap is well above $100 billion. Something like, around $11.5 billion market cap in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't seem like too outlandish to me. Now, if the market cap was like $300 billion, that's a different case. But this doesn't seem too outlandish in my opinion. It may never reach it, but then initially my thought was like, it doesn't seem that ridiculous. However, I do not know the future. I'm not telling anyone to do anything when it comes to PYTH, but then this is just kind of my thought process. Even besides that, why do I think PYTH is a pretty special project, at least in my perspective, right? I'm not saying this on anyone's behalf. It's because when I take a look at something like Chainlink, which historically has proven that, it has had attention, there's a good fan base, and the adoption is really good. That's kind of proven. Now, what is PYTH? The way you take a look at it is that it's basically sort of like a miniature version of Chainlink, I would arguably say, because if we take a look at the PYTH network, right, it's a blockchain oracle for market data. Now, some people may be thinking, who cares about that, right? Like, what is even the benefit of this? Well, if someone is a fan of Chainlink, I think they'll know why this is pretty good. But in case, maybe someone doesn't know Chainlink, or maybe someone wants to know what this is, let me explain it real quick, because an oracle, in this case, it's basically a data feed that brings data from off the chain, aka off-chain data, and it brings that data over into the blockchain. Now, some people may be thinking, okay, why is this even necessary? It's because if we take a look at, many decentralized applications out there, a lot of them can't function properly without this off-chain data. So then it's crucial in my opinion. And there's a lot of applications out there as of right now. So, an oracle is very crucial in my opinion. And if there's going to be more, applications that are going to pop up moving forward, it would only be fair to assume that maybe a lot of them may request the help of, these type of projects that are focused on oracles, much like, for instance, Chainlink or something like PYTH. And the thing is that when it comes to Chainlink, it's kind of like number one within this space, but then do people, or should I say do many people, know like a number 2, number 3, or number 4? Many people that I know out there can only name Chainlink and then some PYTH, right, on top of Chainlink. But then, really beyond that, many people can't really name like 5, 6, or 7. So then within this space, there's not that many reputable competitors. So PYTH kind of is like number 2, in my opinion, arguably, when it comes to the hype and the attention and in terms of the notoriety. So I find that pretty unique. Not to mention, we'll see that when it comes to, something like PYTH, it can, for instance, provide price feeds for smart contracts, and not to mention, According to Solana, the PYTH network is a high-frequency oracle built using Solana ecosystem technology. That's pretty impressive in my opinion because Solana, one of the most popular layer 1 blockchains out there, a lot going on in Solana. The reputation is really good in my opinion. Also on top of that, we take a look at, just the overall sentiment when it comes to Solana. Man, many people are taking a look at it as if it's like kind of the next up-and-coming Ethereum, so to speak. So I think all of this right here is just very interesting for me. Not to mention, even PYTH themselves claim that they deliver real-time market data for, equities, FX, cryptos, and commodities to over 50 blockchains. And it also has over 90 major market participants, which do include Binance, Bybit, and OKX, very massive exchanges. So I find that very interesting as well. Currently PYTH is helping facilitate hundreds of data feeds over hundreds of applications. That's pretty interesting as well. And also PYTH has a pretty heavy emphasis, or should I say a good emphasis, towards decentralized finance. Now, why do I think this is pretty cool? It's because the decentralized finance market is predicted to reach over $300 billion by 2030, according to Grandview Research. So I find that pretty interesting. I mean, that's just a prediction, right? I mean, in my opinion, but then if it ever comes true, that figure right there could be bigger than some countries' GDP. So again, I like the emphasis that PYTH has when it comes to decentralized finance. Not to mention, again, when I take a look at Chainlink and its, native token called Link, I believe in that. It's not that I don't, but then at the same time, the market cap is pretty massive. So then when it comes to PYTH, I kind of view it as if I went back in a little bit of a time machine and then acquired Link at a lower point, because of course Link has a way bigger market cap. Of course, it's not like a literal time machine or something like that, but then it just kind of has that sort of vibe to me. Don't get me wrong, again, I do believe in Chainlink, but I do want to allocate more towards PYTH because I just like the market cap. It's way lower in my opinion. Also, PYTH is kind of up and coming, whereas something like Chainlink already has a very established nature. So overall, I'm a fan of PYTH, and when I take a look at this bull run, some people like to say, take a look at what PYTH has done historically speaking. The price at one point, a lot of people would say was pretty good. Now it's not doing good because of the big pullback. But that right there could be said with a bunch of other altcoins, right? Of course, we see some altcoins out there have a pretty decent recovery, but then in the grand scheme of things, many of them are still way down when compared to a number of months ago. So when it comes to something like PYTH, it's kind of no stranger to that, and also other projects out there, they're no stranger to this situation as well, so it's nothing really that alarming to me. And the way I take a look at it as well is that even though I do not know the exact time PYTH is gonna maybe recover, what I can see is what, altcoins have done historically speaking. Now, usually altcoins, as a worst case scenario, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. Now, 18 months after the last Bitcoin halving event would actually mean around October this year because it did happen in April of last year. So then, we're not in October yet. Now, will that date be correct? Who knows? I mean, that's just based off history. But then the way you take a look at it is that when it comes to whether or not it happens in December, Q1 of next year, whatever the case may be, I just want to be dollar cost averaging, holding, and just waiting because there's over 600 million crypto owners as of right now. Back in the peak of the 2021 bull run, there was around 300 million crypto owners. So actually, I think the factors look more bullish currently in my perspective. We just haven't really seen that run yet. But then things like that typically happen, or should I say usually happens when I least expect it to do so. So I just want to be prepared if, let's say, it ever does. And I'm going to be holding, waiting, and that's pretty much it. But that's just the mentality that I have. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I would greatly appreciate it. It's Winley the Captain, and I'll catch you all in the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.